Let's be honest, a lot of what we learned in history class isn't exactly true. In this video, we're tearing down 10 of the biggest historical myths you probably still believe. From what Vikings actually wore on their heads to what Marie Antoinette really said. Get ready, because history is about to get a serious reality check. Myth number 10. Witches were burned at the Salem Witch Trials. Kicking things off is the grim picture of the Salem Witch Trials. We all imagine accused witches being burned at the stake, right? Well, that's a classic case of mistaken identity, probably because we're mixing it up with witch hunts in Europe. In colonial Salem, not a single convicted person was burned. The historical records show that 19 people were hanged, another was gruesomely pressed to death with heavy stones, and several others died in jail. Myth number 9. Ancient Greek and Roman statues were always white. Next up, those pure white marble statues from ancient Greece and Rome. We see them in museums looking all pristine and think that's the peak of classical beauty. But what if I told you that's not how they were supposed to look? The reality is, these statues were originally painted in shockingly vibrant colors. Over centuries, the paint just wore away, leaving behind the bare white marble we see today. Myth number 8. The Great Chicago Fire was started by Mrs. O'Leary's cow. Coming in at number 8 is a classic American tall tale. The 1871 Chicago Fire started when Mrs. O'Leary's cow kicked over a lantern. It's a simple story and easy to remember. The only problem? It was completely made up. The real cause of the fire is still unknown. The cow story was invented by a journalist who later admitted he fabricated it just to make his article a little more interesting. Myth number 7. Napoleon was extremely short. At number 7, we're tackling a big myth about a supposedly little guy, Napoleon Bonaparte. The idea that he was incredibly short is one of the most famous insults in history. So was he a tiny tyrant? Not even close. Napoleon was about 5 feet 6 or 7 inches tall, which was actually average, maybe even slightly above average for a Frenchman at the time. The myth was mostly fueled by British propaganda and a simple mix-up between Old French and British units of measurement. Myth number 6. Cleopatra was Egyptian. Halfway through our list, we have the Queen of the Nile herself, Cleopatra. We automatically think of her as the ultimate Egyptian pharaoh. But her ancestry tells a different story. Cleopatra wasn't ethnically Egyptian at all. She was Greek, a descendant of the Ptolemaic dynasty that was established after Alexander the Great's conquest. In fact, she was the first ruler in her family's 300-year history to bother learning the Egyptian language, which shows you how smart she was. Okay, we're at the halfway point. I have to ask, which myth has surprised you the most so far? Drop a comment below and let me know. And if you're enjoying having your brain rewired with historical truth, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss what's coming up next. Myth number 5. Jewish slaves built the pyramids. For decades, movies and epic stories have drilled into our heads that the Great Pyramids were built by Jewish slaves, but archaeological finds paint a completely different picture. The pyramids were actually built by paid Egyptian laborers. We've found their villages, their tombs, and even records of their wages and medical care. Besides, the timeline is all wrong. The Great Pyramids were built centuries before the biblical story of the Exodus. Myth number 4. Columbus proved the earth was round. Our number 4. Myth is a classic from grade school history. Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue to prove the earth was round. The story makes him seem like a lone genius fighting against a world of flat earthers. But here's the thing. Educated people in 1492 already knew the earth was a sphere. The ancient Greeks had figured it out centuries earlier. The real debate wasn't about the earth's shape, but its size. Columbus thought the planet was much, much smaller than it is, and that's what other experts were arguing with him about. Myth number 3. Vikings wore horned helmets. Breaking into the top 3, we have the iconic image of the Viking. What's the first thing you picture? A massive warrior with a horned helmet, right? Well, prepare for that image to be completely shattered. There is zero archaeological evidence that Vikings ever wore horned helmets into battle, so where did the look come from? It was dreamed up by a costume designer for a 19th century Wagner opera, and the stereotype just stuck. Myth number 2. Marie Antoinette said, "Let them eat cake." Our runner-up myth is responsible for one of history's most infamous quotes. When told her starving subjects had no bread, Queen Marie Antoinette supposedly snapped back, "Let them eat cake." It's become the ultimate symbol of an out-of-touch elite. Except, there's no credible evidence she ever said it. The phrase actually first appeared in the writings of the philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau, attributed only to a great princess, when Marie was still just a child living in Austria. Myth number 1. George Washington had wooden teeth. And now, for the number 1 history myth you almost certainly believe. George Washington had wooden teeth. It's a fact everyone just knows, but the truth is much more grim. Washington never had wooden teeth. His dentures were made from a horrific combination of materials, including hippopotamus ivory, gold, lead, and, most disturbingly, human teeth he bought from other people. The ivory likely got stained and cracked over time, giving it a grainy, wood-like look, which is probably how this myth got started. So, from presidential dental work to royal rumors, it's clear that a lot of the history we think we know is just plain wrong. These stories come from propaganda, pop culture, and simple misunderstandings that get repeated for generations. It just goes to show you can't always believe the history you've been told. What other history myths should we bust next? If you had fun with this, hit that like button and subscribe for more dives into the past. Thanks for watching.